My boyfriend had depression. The medication and therapy sessions cost tens of thousands a month. To cure him, I took on endless art commissions and worked food delivery shifts day and night. My friends all warned me I was risking death from overwork. Until one day, I snatched a delivery order for a wealthy villa district, an $18,000 high-end Japanese food delivery, which I handed respectfully to the client. As I looked up, I saw my boyfriend, who was supposed to be at a counseling session, standing at the door, staring at me in utter shock.
Hello, my friends. I'm Claire, and this is Claire Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story.
Shouldn't you be at the hospital, Ethan Reed? I stared at the elegantly decorated, luxurious villa, my left hand gripping the delivery box so tightly it hurt. The temperature was a sweltering 40 degrees Celsius, yet I shivered as if I had been plunged into an ice cave. I had only ever seen places like this in TV dramas. I'm sorry, Aurora. Let me explain. Dr. Liu had something come up this afternoon. I was just hanging out at a friend's place. Caught off guard, Ethan Reed frantically grabbed my sleeve. It was his usual way of apologizing. It had worked 100 times before, but it failed now. I coldly slapped his hand away. The custom-tailored shirt he wore was from a brand I couldn't even name, a pharmacy, that it fit his wealthy scion persona far better than any basic clothing. I lowered my eyes and pulled out my phone, opening the appointment page for Portland City Hospital. After seeing that Dr. Liu and the psychology department still had open slots for the day, I lost all interest in exposing him. Taking a deep breath, I cleared my head and said in a steady, somber voice, "Ethan Reed, is this fun? Pretending to be a down-and-out, depressed poor boy by my side? Not even willing to buy a cup of milk tea? When in reality you're a rich heir who spends $18,000 on a single meal?" My lips trembled as I stared at the man before me, so consumed with resentment that I didn't even realize my eyes had filled with tears. "You really treated me like a fool. 18,000. I'd have to run 6,000 deliveries for that. It would take me 2 months. The most laughable part was the only app I hadn't closed on my phone. It was a message I had sent to Ethan just half an hour ago. I told him I was getting us something extra for dinner tonight, that I was planning to make his favorite lotus root soup, because the client in this wealthy district was so generous they had given me $100 tip. I just never imagined that the tip was from Ethan Reed himself. Ethan would often hold me late at night and say that in this world, the only love he would never doubt was mine. Not even his parents' love for him was as pure as mine. These whispers once made me rejoice, feeling like a lucky one in a world where sincerity had become a rarity. But looking back now, I suppose no one would be foolish enough to risk heat stroke for a $5 high-temperature bonus just to scrape together his medical fees for the month. I haven't slept more than 5 hours in so long. All I dream about is you getting better one day sooner. You know all of this better than anyone, don't you?" My questioning voice grew choked with emotion. A crack appeared in Ethan's previously calm expression. He nodded, his eyes slightly red. In that cramped, run-down little apartment, it was a half-hour walk just to the subway station. He watched me struggle, watched me stretch every dollar. He watched me, embarrassed yet desperately paying for this fake experience game, all to treat his supposed depression. And he, like a creator god, watched it all with cold indifference. "I'll transfer a sum of money to your bank card as compensation. I was in the wrong about this." Ethan lowered his head slightly, his eyes filled with guilt and a hint of helplessness. He realized he could no longer spin a story, so he simply gave up. My finger stiffly pulled the crumpled order slip from my pocket. It was 1/2 meter long, filled with only the most premium cuts of meat. I crumpled it into a ball and threw it at him with all my might. Ethan didn't flinch, his expression a mixture of sorrow and remorse. The cool air from inside brought a slight chill. Amidst the chirping of cicadas, footsteps approached from a short distance away. A woman's coquettish voice followed. "Ethan, haven't you gotten the food yet? I'm starving." Ethan and I broke our standoff. His expression changed slightly. As we both turned, we saw a young woman in a lacy nightdress walking over. Ethan frantically stepped forward to block her. Why did you come out? I'll be right back in. Be good. Go inside first. But the girl seemed determined to find out what was going on. She walked around Ethan and looked at me with a smile, her almond-shaped eyes holding a hint of familiarity and contempt. This is... No one answered. Seeing our mutual silence, she curled her lips into a smile. Then she naturally linked her arm with Ethan's, pulling down her sheer, light pink nightdress slightly. The red marks on her neck and the curves under the fabric were in full view. She leaned against Ethan, her body soft and pliant. The man's uneasy gaze fell on me. I turned my head away in despair and closed my eyes for a moment. My sweat-soaked hair clung stickily to my face, and a throbbing pain pulsed at my temples. Even if I were slow, I knew what had happened. I had originally thought I was just an unlucky pawn in a rich person's game of experiencing poverty. Now it seemed I was also a side character in a rich kid's love story. What rotten luck. So I didn't want to stay any longer. I turned to pack up my delivery box, ready to leave. But the girl suddenly called out to me. Wait, you must be that slum girlfriend Ethan was playing around with outside of school. I didn't recognize you in the delivery uniform. Are you Aurora Hayes from the College of Arts and Law? I stopped and turned to look at her. After half a minute, I finally recognized her. She was a senior from my year, Chloe Sutton, the one with a privileged family background and stunning looks who was always surrounded by admirers. But we had a history. Because she had used under-the-table dealings to help someone else snatch my scholarship for underprivileged students, I had never fawned over her like everyone else. Seeing my dark and unnatural expression, Chloe tightened her grip on Ethan's arm. She feigned delight and said in a sweet voice, Ethan, I can't believe it. Last year, I casually complained to you about a holier-than-thou junior who was really annoying. After you asked a few questions, you actually went and messed with Aurora Hayes for me. I'm really impressed with your methods. So clever. Chloe looked up, shot me a sharp glance, and continued. So clever that you've got the great talent of our college, Aurora Hayes, wrapped around your finger like a dog. My hands, hanging by my sides, slowly clenched into fists. The cool air from inside blew on me, but I felt no relief. A normal person's future, feelings, money, sweat, all of it, was like an unsightly weed on the side of the road to these people. Not only did they ignore it, but they had to stomp on it and spit on it. Chloe leaned in and kissed Ethan on the cheek, like a reward for fooling me all this time, her eyes flicking towards me with a provocative glint. Then, as if remembering something, her expression turned strange and manic. She asked, Junior Aurora, did Ethan tell you he has depression? I frowned, but did not deny it. Seeing this, the woman in front of me burst out laughing. The words that came out of her mouth sent a chill down my spine. That's because I told Ethan that you have a brother who committed suicide because of depression. I knew that if he just said he had depression, you'd fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. And sure enough. As soon as she finished speaking, the air hung still for a moment, leaving only the sound of cicadas. My mind went blank. I bit my lip, grabbed my delivery helmet, and swung it at Ethan like a madwoman. If I swallowed this, I might as well just go open a bakery tomorrow. My chest heaved violently. I cursed, depression, huh? Pretending to be poor, huh? Like twisting the knife, huh? You deserve to have parents who don't love you, you bastard. You deserve to have your dad beat your mom in front of you. Why didn't he just beat you to death too? I'm going to beat you to death on behalf of your father today. In the year Ethan and I were together, whether it was acting or genuine emotion, we had shared our vulnerabilities. So I knew that his greatest unresolved issue was his parents' indifference and neglect, which had deprived him of familial love since childhood. And now that became the weapon I used to verbally attack and curse him. Before either of them could react, I swung at Ethan's face again and again. My head spun from the rage and lack of sleep. The moment Chloe mentioned my brother, Leo Hayes, the sanity I had been clinging to all afternoon shattered. It wasn't until Chloe pulled me away that Ethan finally stopped taking the hits. He covered his mouth, his hands stained with blood. "Are you okay, Ethan? I'm calling the police." "This crazy bitch has lost her mind. How dare she hit you? I'm going to have my dad." Chloe's angry voice was choked with sobs, but Ethan grabbed her hand and shook his head. "Don't. Just don't. It's all what I owe her." He straightened his disheveled hair and walked up to me. He took a gold card from his pocket and handed it to me. He said, "The pen is your birthday. I know things are beyond repair, but never mind. I'm sorry." I sneered, my eyes filled with nothing but coldness and hatred. I snatched the gold card from his fingers, left him with those words, and turned to leave. There were $770,000 on the card. After getting my final paycheck from the delivery company, I quit my job. The 23-square-meter studio apartment could be seen in a single glance. At the time, Ethan and I had moved out of the dorms because he said his depression was manifesting physically, and he wanted me to be with him every day. I hadn't been without my guard up against Ethan, who had charged into my life with such reckless abandon, but seeing that he had the same illness as my brother, my heart softened, and my judgment clouded. For a moment, I couldn't tell if what I felt for him was more love or a desperate need to compensate for the infinite guilt I felt towards my brother. I just became obsessed, fanatically determined to help Ethan get better, as if by doing so, the nightmare I couldn't escape would lessen. It had been a year, and there were quite a few things, but the matching couple's items were too painful to look at, so I threw them all in the trash. Listening to the sound of the old air conditioner, I stared at the ceiling, slowly detaching from the endless toil, and fell into a deep sleep. In my dreams, I lost count of how many times I had dreamt of Leo in the bathtub. He lay lifeless, in the crimson liquid, his body as pale as a porcelain doll, without warmth or sound. An empty pill bottle lay by his dangling fingertips. His long eyelashes were closed, their curve just as I remembered from the countless nights he had dozed off while waiting for me to finish studying. But this time, they would never open again. He would never rub his sleepy eyes and ask when his sister was going to bed. On his phone, he had deleted all his chat records, leaving only one message for me. "Sister, I'm sorry," and a transfer of $3,569.81. It was all the money he had. That spring was in full bloom, and Leo Hayes, a boy as brilliant as the son of heaven, left in his prime. And I was forever trapped in that spring. A rustling sound from the plastic bag behind the door woke me up. A man in a black shirt was crouched by the trash can, furtively rummaging through it. "Who's there?" The man's movements paused. He slowly turned around. It was Ethan. He was wearing a mask and his face had several bandages. I rubbed my throbbing forehead, forgetting he still had a key to the apartment. The matching rings, mugs, watches, and other mementos I had thrown in the trash this afternoon had all been taken out by him and neatly arranged on the floor. "What are you doing with those?" At my words, Ethan's eyes lowered, his expression unreadable. "I just came to pack up a few last things." "They're all worthless things. Is a young master like you interested in them?" Sitting up in bed, I glanced around the room to see if there was anything else of importance. Since it had come to this, I planned to move back into the school dorms and terminate the lease here. Ethan held the cheap silver ring in his hand, his thumb gently rubbing it. His voice was low and desolate. "Aurora, I know you don't believe me, but I was truly sincere. I really only trusted you. No one has ever loved me so devotedly. I don't want to lose you." I waved my hand and sneered, the scene from the afternoon replaying in my mind with bitter irony. "Sincere about what? Was it because you loved me that you specifically had me deliver your postcoital meal? Should I thank you for that?" "I can explain about Chloe. Nothing ever happened between us. Getting together with her was just something I casually agreed to before, and I've been wanting to break it off with her for a while."
I realized that the person I truly love is actually... There's no point in discussing this anymore. I cut him off coldly, my gaze indifferent. Water dripped into the bucket in the bathroom. The knee-high faucet had been leaking for years. To save a little on the water bill, I had always used a plastic bucket to catch the drips. The money saved was only a few cents. A love that was not genuine was laughable to even speak of. The moment the sham was exposed, regardless of whether it was genuine or not, an unsurmountable chasm had formed between us. Actually, Ethan, when you used my brother's situation to get close to me, did you ever think that karma would one day come back to you? What do you mean? I didn't answer, just frowned and opened the door, asking him to leave. Seeing my resolute expression, his eyes held a hint of hurt. He then stuffed all the things he had laid out on the floor into his bag and stood up. Don't pretend to have depression anymore. Because for every person like you in this world, the stigma of depression gets worse, and it becomes harder for real patients to get help. There will be one more person like Leo. After a long pause, the man in front of me slowly nodded. Then Ethan took a bag of ribs and lotus root from behind the door. He had seen my message about having something extra for dinner. Can you make me lotus root soup one last time? No, your personal chef will make it better. I only like the way you make it. Aurora, why can't you just trust me one more time? Give me another chance. His voice was already choked with emotion. I had never thought that Ethan Reed, having resumed his high and mighty status of the heir of Portland, would have such a pleading expression on his face. At this moment, everything was quickly deviating from the script of the poverty dame. Regardless of the truth in his words, I remained silent and unmoved. He understood my rejection. The hand that wanted to grab mine eventually fell. Before he left, Ethan's eyes were red as he turned back to look at me. Do you still love me? No. Can you love me again? No.
After Ethan left, I started packing up the clutter in the apartment. I planned to return to school next week. After packing late into the night, I collapsed onto the sofa, my gaze falling on a box in the corner of the closet. It was locked. It contained my brother Leo's belongings. We were twins. After our parents divorced, they each started their own families. We were like a costly mistake from our parents' reckless youth, one that no one wanted to pay for or even look back on. So after middle school, Leo and I had to rely on the bare minimum of child support, depending on each other for survival. The thought of this brought a sour bitterness to my heart. I tightly clutched a jewelry box in my hand. This was a birthday gift Leo had given me the year he left. A 6-pointed star necklace studded with tiny diamonds. He had smiled brightly when he gave it to me, and had even put it on my neck himself. Sister, I bought this necklace with my own money. Do you like it? It looks so beautiful on you, even better than on the model. Even though this one isn't expensive, I'll work hard to put all the beautiful gems in the world on you. The boy's eyes were sincere. I poked his single dimple and nodded in satisfaction. Leo, I believe you. So, I've been waiting. Under the foam padding of the jewelry box, something rattled. I picked it up and found a key. When Leo gave it to me 2 years ago, there was no key. He must have put it in later. I took it out, thought for a moment, and my gaze fell on the peeling box in the corner. The lock clicked open. Inside were only 4 things: an oil painting of withered sunflowers, an album by his favorite band, Words and Wine, a diary, and a piece of paper with an account in Pantsword written on it. My gaze fell on the black diary. I picked it up and placed it on my lap. I started flipping through from the beginning. The early entries were just mundane daily life, in which girl at school had confessed her feelings to him. This was natural. Leo was handsome and fair, with a pair of charming peach blossomed eyes, yet his demeanor was distant and noble. I had received many love letters and snacks on his behalf since we were young. But perhaps because we were both abandoned at a young age, despite receiving so much admiration from others, He remained delicate and sensitive, which led to his habit of keeping a diary. After entering college, Leo, with his naturally gifted voice, quickly became the lead singer of the school band. At every performance, there were fangirls screaming for him. As I delved into the memories contained in the entries, my fingers paused on one page, because Chloe's name had appeared in the diary. And afterwards, it appeared with increasing frequency. I anticipated that things wouldn't be easy when I returned to school. After all, Chloe wouldn't let the matter of me hitting Ethan go. But I hadn't expected her retaliation to come so quickly. I looked at my bed, which was piled high with takeout containers and delivery trash. Even the desk under the bed was scrawled with the insults whore and homewrecker in red paint. My roommate, Nancy Wallace, who I was on relatively good terms with, stood by looking helpless. Aurora, I tried to stop those senior girls, but it was no use. They said you messed with the wrong people. Nancy took the trash from my hands, her tone apologetic. I gave her a reassuring smile and continued cleaning my bed. And Aurora, have you seen the school forum? It says you came between Chloe and the heartthrob of the electrical engineering department, Ethan Reed. There are already hundreds of comments. I saw the evidence in there, and it looks pretty convincing. Is it true? I stopped wiping the bed frame, frowned, and took her phone. I scrolled through, briefly skimming the content. It was mostly photos of Ethan and I entering and leaving the school together, and screenshots of chats between Chloe and Ethan from their freshman summer, showing they were together, though they had never made it official. I rolled my eyes. It was just a ploy to mess with me, to claim they were a couple at this juncture, to smear my name. To outsiders, the timeline would make it seem like I was indeed the one who had intervened. I wouldn't answer Nancy's question about whether it was true. I just thought for a moment and then took out my phone and called Chloe. She answered after 3 rings. I got straight to the point. This is Aurora Hayes. I'll be waiting for you at the cafe by the North Gate at 3 p.m. The sounds of laughter on the other end stopped. Then Chloe sneered, well, look who it is. The great talent Aurora wants to apologize now. It's too late. I don't have time to see a motherless. It's about Leo Hayes. Chloe, who was about to spew more insults, was cut off and fell silent. After a long pause, she replied, Got it. After Ethan left, I started packing up the clutter in the apartment. I plan to return to school next week. After packing late into the night, I collapsed onto the sofa, my gaze falling on a box in the corner of the closet. It was locked. It contained my brother Leo's belongings. We were twins. After our parents divorced, they each started their own families. We were like a costly mistake from our parents' reckless youth, one that no one wanted to pay for or even look back on. So after middle school, Leo and I had to rely on the bare minimum of child support, depending on each other for survival. The thought of this brought a sour bitterness to my heart. I tightly clutched a jewelry box in my hand. This was a birthday gift Leo had given me the year he left. A 6-pointed star necklace studded with tiny diamonds. He had smiled brightly when he gave it to me, and had even put it on my neck himself. Sister, I bought this necklace with my own money. Do you like it? It looks so beautiful on you, even better than on the model. Even though this one isn't expensive, I'll work hard to put all the beautiful gems in the world on you. The boy's eyes were sincere. I poked his single dimple and nodded in satisfaction. Leo, I believe you. So, I've been waiting. Under the foam padding of the jewelry box, something rattled. I picked it up and found a key. When Leo gave it to me 2 years ago, there was no key. He must have put it in later. I took it out, thought for a moment, and my gaze fell on the peeling box in the corner. The lock clicked open. Inside were only 4 things: an oil painting of withered sunflowers, an album by his favorite band, Words and Wine, a diary, and a piece of paper with an account in Poundsword written on it. My gaze fell on the black diary. I picked it up and placed it on my lap. I started flipping through from the beginning. The early entries were just mundane daily life, in which girl at school had confessed her feelings to him. This was natural. Leo was handsome and fair, with a pair of charming peach blossomed eyes,
yet his demeanor was distant and noble. I had received many love letters and snacks on his behalf since we were young. But perhaps because we were both abandoned at a young age, despite receiving so much admiration from others, he remained delicate and sensitive, which led to his habit of keeping a diary. After entering college, Leo, with his naturally gifted voice, quickly became the lead singer of the school band. At every performance, there were fangirls screaming for him. As I delved into the memories contained in the entries, my fingers paused on one page, because Chloe's name had appeared in the diary, and afterwards it appeared with increasing frequency. I anticipated that things wouldn't be easy when I returned to school. After all, Chloe wouldn't let the matter of me hitting Ethan go. But I hadn't expected her retaliation to come so quickly. I looked at my bed, which was piled high with takeout containers and delivery trash. Even the desk under the bed was scrawled with the insults whore and homewrecker in red paint. My roommate, Nancy Wallace, who I was on relatively good terms with, stood by looking helpless. Aurora, I tried to stop those senior girls, but it was no use. They said you messed with the wrong people. Nancy took the trash from my hands, her tone apologetic. I gave her a reassuring smile and continued cleaning my bed. And Aurora, have you seen the school forum? It says you came between Chloe and the heartthrob of the electrical engineering department, Ethan Reed. There are already hundreds of comments. I saw the evidence in there, and it looks pretty convincing. Is it true? I stopped wiping the bed frame, frowned, and took her phone. I scrolled through, briefly skimming the content. It was mostly photos of Ethan and I entering and leaving the school together, and screenshots of chats between Chloe and Ethan from their freshman summer, showing they were together, though they had never made it official. I rolled my eyes. It was just a ploy to mess with me, to claim they were a couple at this juncture, to smear my name. To outsiders, the timeline would make it seem like I was indeed the one who had intervened. I wouldn't answer Nancy's question about whether it was true. I just thought for a moment and then took out my phone and called Chloe. She answered after 3 rings. I got straight to the point. This is Aurora Hayes. I'll be waiting for you at the cafe by the North Gate at 3 p.m. The sounds of laughter on the other end stopped. Then Chloe sneered, Well, well, look who it is. The great talent Aurora wants to apologize now. It's too late. I don't have time to see a motherless. It's about Leo Hayes. Chloe, who was about to spew more insults, was cut off and fell silent. After a long pause, she replied, Got it.
The 3 o'clock sun, though not as scorching as at noon, was still harsh. I stirred the latte in my cup and took a small sip. My mind replayed the brief mentions of Chloe in the diary. Just then, the wind chime at the cafe's entrance tinkled. The sound of high heels stopped in front of me. Chloe was wearing a blue and white slip dress. This was the first time I had looked at her directly. She had delicate, cute features, but her eyes held a constant fierceness that didn't match her appearance. I lowered my gaze and clicked my tongue in my mind. Still disgusting. She sat down opposite me, put down her designer bag, and asked, About Leo Hayes, what is it? I didn't beat around the bush. I got straight to the point. You had a crush on Leo, didn't you? Chloe's hand holding the menu paused. Her pink-purple polished nails instantly dug into the page. A flicker of pain crossed her eyes, but she masked it within 2 seconds. Where did you hear that? How could I like a poor guy like him? That's hilarious. Her tone was as arrogant as ever, but she tugged at the corner of her mouth unnaturally. Leo's diary mentioned you many times. He said you confessed your feelings to him 27 times. I slowly put down the stirring spoon, my gaze unwavering. The air was filled with the aroma of coffee beans. At this time, the owner was still busy in the back. Chloe's pupils constricted. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but then stopped. In the end, she didn't deny it anymore. She propped her forehead with her right hand, her eyelashes lowered, no longer looking at me. Her lack of a direct response, her evasive attitude, suddenly grated on my nerves. I took the painting I had set aside and placed it on the table. It was the painting from Leo's belongings, the one of withered sunflowers. So what? Why did you plagiarize his painting if you liked him? Why did you hack his entry and get him disqualified? Do you know how important that competition was to him? He loved singing and painting more than anything since he was a child. Leo had committed suicide 10 days after his painting, The Lost Sunflower, was plagiarized, and the plagiarist was Chloe. She turned her head, her gaze falling on the framed painting. A flicker of hatred appeared in her eyes. And even after he died, you still played with his family like this? Chloe, your so-called love? Her chest heaved violently, her emotions on the verge of spiraling out of control. The word love seemed to have struck a nerve. Chloe violently threw her cup to the ground, stood up like a madwoman, and screamed at me with red eyes. What do you know? You, his sister? What do you even know about him? What right do you have to question my love for him? Yes, I liked him, but it was the first time in my life I had ever liked someone so much. I gave him everything I could. I bought him 10 copies of his favorite band's album. I didn't know what brand of sneakers he liked, so I bought them all for him. I get dizzy just looking at those stupid shooting games he plays, but I still learned them from scratch, just to have something in common with him. Money, my heart, I gave them to him on my knees. What do you know? When have I ever been so humble? It doesn't matter that he rejected me 27 times. It really doesn't. I could have persisted, because I really, really liked Leo Hayes. Chloe sobbed, her throat raw. She collapsed on the sofa, looking at me with desperate eyes, tears streaming down her face. But at this moment, my own previously controllable emotions were in turmoil. This truth made it even harder for me to understand, so I continued to question her. So why? Why did you plagiarize his painting? Do you know that he was gone 10 days after the competition ended? Do you know how deep the cuts on his wrists were? How determined he was to die? Chloe, tell me, aren't you one of the people who killed him? In my agitation, my breathing became labored. The nightmarish scene replayed in my mind. Faced with my questions, Chloe's lips trembled. She didn't answer, her eyes filled with confusion. Her whole body trembled as she fumbled in her bag for a cigarette. Just as she was about to light it, a staff member stopped her. She crushed the cigarette in her hand and said, "That weekend, he went to a well-known commercial performance that I had recommended. When he came back, he was like a different person. When I went to ask him how the performance went, Leo looked at me like he wanted to kill me. He said I was the most disgusting and hateful person he knew. He called me a bastard and a whore. The way he pointed at me and insulted me that day, I can still see it when I close my eyes. You don't know how desperate I was. My heart felt like it was suffocating. I didn't know what had happened. I just heard from my dad that a celebrity agent would be at this performance, that it was a golden opportunity, so I secretly told Leo. But after it was over, he pushed me away as if he had sentenced me to death. I have my own pride too. It's fine if he doesn't love me, but why did he have to humiliate me like that? After that, I gave up on loving him. I even wanted to get revenge on him. She was too choked up to finish, but everyone understood. Unrequited love can easily turn into hatred. As Chloe had said, someone who grew up being adored by everyone, what couldn't she have? If she couldn't get it, even after trying so hard, then she would destroy it completely. So her hatred for Leo didn't end with his death, it spread to me. Snatching my scholarship, having Ethan fool me, were just extensions of her hatred. How did you know about me and Leo? He treasured you, his sister, the most, didn't he? He hid everything from you except for the good news, afraid he'd worry about him. To be honest, I'm very envious of you, to be cared about so much by him. The ice in the cup had slowly melted, and some of the latte had spilled over the rim. I rubbed the calluses on my hands, remembering Leo's somewhat delicate handwriting. I read the diary he left behind. So, did he always hate me? Or did he have even a little bit of affection for me? I can't answer that for him. At these words, the light in Chloe's eyes faded, and even the hatred was gone. In the diary, on the timeline when Leo cursed Chloe, there was indeed a mention of a commercial performance. And after that, the tone of his diary changed drastically from the usual joys and sorrows. It became pages upon pages of just death to Mr. Sutton. The force behind the words penetrated the paper. Every stroke seemed to want to tear the person on the page to shreds. It was a hatred that was difficult to describe in words. But he didn't write anything other than those 4 words. I had no way of knowing the reason or any other details. I looked up at the downcasted Chloe and asked, "I have one last question. Mr. Sutton, he's your father, right? The head of the school board?" Chloe came back to her senses. Faced with this irrelevant question, she was a little confused, but she still nodded. "Yes, he's my dad." The school forum continued to buzz. On my way back to the dorm, I heard many people pointing and whispering, but my mind was preoccupied with Leo's affairs, so I didn't even react when someone deliberately bumped into me. A figure stepped in front of me. "Don't you watch where you're going?" I glanced to the side. It was Ethan. He was wearing a baseball cap and yelling at the person who had just bumped into me. His shout made the passersby around us stop and stare. Some even took out their phones and started taking pictures of us. The adulterous couple, they still dare to walk together? Shameless. I ignored the Pongren, the Yi Lun, and frowned at Ethan. "What are you doing here?" He lowered his eyes, a look of concern in them. He said in a low voice, "I've already posted a clarification saying you were an innocent and unknowing party, but I was still worried someone would attack you like just now." I rubbed my sore shoulder and shot him a glare, as if he wasn't the cause of all this. "Have you, in the past 2 days... Before he could finish his hesitant sentence, a stone came flying towards me. Ethan sensed it before I did and immediately stepped in front of me. I looked towards the direction it came from. A boy in a denim jacket quickly disappeared into the crowd. Although Ethan reacted quickly, the stone still grazed his cheek, drawing blood. He winced in pain, covering his face. He forced a smile, his eyes darting towards me from time to time, as if waiting for me to comfort him. I sighed inwardly and said to him in a low voice, "Ethan, there's no need for this. There's no chance for us. Whatever you do, I won't go back." The flicker of hope in his eyes completely dimmed, but then, as if comforting himself, he muttered, "I won't give up." "What are you even holding on to?" I was confused. I didn't understand why someone who had toyed with a sincere heart would still be so hung up on their mistake instead of just finding a new target. "I've never been in so much pain and regret. I don't know. This feeling is so foreign. I just know that I both love you and feel guilty towards you, so seeing you or doing something for you makes me feel a little better." Ethan confessed, but at this moment the silver ring on his left middle finger glinted cheaply under the streetlights, just like our year together, a mistake and insignificant. 12. The post accusing me of being a homewrecker was deleted by the original poster late at night. The forum, which had been filled with insults, was now clean. Since then, I haven't been targeted by Chloe again. Life has returned to its former peace, except for Ethan's daily disturbances, which worried me. Another sleepless night. I logged into the account Leo had left behind. It was his art blogger account with over 300,000 followers. In this field, he was considered quite well known. His ID was Honeysuckle. Since he was a child, Leo had shown amazing talent in both painting and music. Even in our somewhat jiaju circumstances, where I couldn't provide him with the best education, he still managed to shine as brightly as he could. I scrolled through his past posts. His early works were mostly fluffy little animals and natural landscapes. But again, it was at that turning point, after Leo's commercial performance in his freshman year of college, that his style changed. The fluffy animals became dark, monstrous creatures that devoured and tore him up. Looking back, everything happened so fast during that time. From when I discovered he was taking antidepressants to when he left, it was only a short 2 months. He was irritable and emotionally unstable then. I tried to show my concern several times but was pushed away. At the time, I was bewildered and helpless, so I just went along with it. Later, Leo's resolute departure left me desperate and lost, desperately wanting a reason. But no matter how I looked, everyone said suicide due to depression was the answer. Do you know Leo Hayes from the Art Academy? I heard he committed suicide a while ago because of depression. What? Really? Of course it's real. The school has been holding mental health seminars recently because of it. This was what I overheard two girls discussing on my way back to the dorm right after Leo's funeral. Faced with the truth laid before me, I began to grow numb and surrender. I even gradually accepted this cause of death, no longer struggling for other possibilities. But now Leo's belongings had torn open another possibility. My thoughts returned to the present. My roommate's breathing was deep and even. My hand scrolling the mouse paused slightly. I clicked into the private messages of Leo's account. Most of them were from fans asking for updates. When he first stopped posting, many people would urge him daily, but it had been 2 years since he left, and recently few people remembered the blogger, Honeysuckle. Until I found an account with a winter landscape as its profile picture and the ID, Brooke. For 2 years, there had been a continuous stream of private messages, all sent after Leo had left. There were confessions of love, cries of sorrow, feelings of unwillingness, and regrets. From the content, I found out that she was also a student at our university, and the most recent private message was, "Leo Hayes, I'm sorry. I know the truth, but I can't help you get revenge." Seeing this, the grayed out profile picture suddenly lit up. She was online. I sent her a message. "I'm the blogger's sister, Aurora Hayes. Can we meet?" A few seconds later, she replied, "Okay." Ethan used his family connections and the pretext that the Reed family was planning to launch a new education brand to invite Mr. Sutton to dinner at his home. The Reed and Sutton families were old friends, so Mr. Sutton let his guard down. Half an hour after the agreed time, a black car stopped outside the abandoned factory where I was waiting. Ethan dragged the unconscious Mr. Sutton out of the car and threw him on the ground. "You don't have to worry about the rest. Thank you. When I turn myself in, I won't mention you." I emotionlessly distanced myself. But he looked at me hesitating, his expression filled with sorrow. He seemed unwilling to see me make this choice. "Aurora Hayes, your brother is already dead. Why can't you let go of the past and start over? This way?" "Shh, don't say any more. This is how it should be, right? He killed my brother. A life for a life, isn't that right?" Besides the obsession of being a sister who should avenge him, I also thought, ever since we were little, I had stood in front of Leo, fighting off the older kids who bullied him, getting rid of the spiders and cockroaches he was afraid of, and wiping away his tears when he missed our parents. So he always said I was the bravest superhero sister in the world. And this time, after knowing the truth, I shouldn't be a coward in front of him either, right? It should be so. I tied Mr. Sutton to a chair. I had removed all his clothes. I took out his phone, lifted his hand, and unlocked it with his fingerprint. My purpose was clear. At the very bottom of his photo album, there was an anonymous album. I clicked on it. As expected, it contained an astonishing number of videos. It was highly likely that someone like Mr. Sutton would have this kind of habit. I scrolled down and finally found the late spring of 2 years ago. After a brief confirmation, I closed my eyes, numb. I picked up the water bottle beside me and splashed it on Mr. Sutton, waking him up. He choked, his small, cloudy eyes filled with panic. When he saw me clearly, he was full of confusion. "Who are you?" I didn't answer. Mr. Sutton looked around, forced a calm demeanor, and continued to probe. "Do we have some kind of grudge? Do you remember Leo Hayes?" At these words, Mr. Sutton's brow furrowed. He secretly twisted his shoulders, trying to break free, but it was useless. The force of my knots had made my own palms bleed. "I'm sorry. What happened with your brother was a mistake I made while I was drunk. If you want money for compensation or for me to confess, I'll cooperate. As long as you spare my life, little girl, anything can be discussed." I watched him expressionlessly and picked up the knife I had prepared from the table. Seeing that I wasn't moved by his offers, he began to threaten me. "Think carefully. If you do anything reckless, you'll have to face the legal consequences yourself. And with just a flick of my finger, I can make you disappear from Portland without a trace." I sneered, the hand holding the knife pausing slightly, but I paid him no mind. Thinking back to the video I had just seen, I asked, "I want to ask you, besides this phone, are there any other backups of these videos?" Mr. Sutton's gaze darkened. He clearly understood which videos I was referring to. The flesh on his face trembled and he began to sweat even more profusely. He then stammered in response, "No more." Seeing this, I raised my hand, and before he could react, I unhesitatingly brought the blade down on his right hand. Ah! In an instant, the warehouse was filled with Mr. Sutton's agonizing screams. "Tell the truth. Don't waste time." I looked down numbly at the blood gushing out and pooling on the floor. Seeing that he still wouldn't talk, I raised my hand again, aiming for his left. "My second floor, study, the third room to the left of the stairs, in the bookcase, the innermost second drawer. The key is in that bunch on the floor, the smallest one." I glanced at the keys, weighing the truthfulness of his words. After confirming that it was likely not a lie, I nodded and picked up the blade again. Seeing this, he panicked and tried to lean back in his chair. You said if I answered the questions, you would..." The fear of death made it difficult for Mr. Sutton to even speak clearly. But it didn't matter. It was the last sentence of his life. I frowned. "What about?" "Never mind. Just be quiet. Maybe I'll be more gentle." By the time everything was cleaned up, it was 3 in the morning. I turned off my phone, thinking that I didn't have much time left. I needed to take care of some things before turning myself in. I found a motel and took a quick shower. Then I arranged to meet Serena. She saw that my face was still pale and looked worried. "Sister, take care of yourself. Even if we can't get revenge for Leo, we can't just live in a daze. He wouldn't be happy to see you like this." I nodded and straightened my messy hair. I didn't plan on telling Serena what had happened last night. I would just let her think it was fate. I took the gold card Ethan had given me from my pocket. I had put all the money on it, making it a total of $800,000. "Take this card." She wanted to refuse, but I shook my head. "Serena, you are one of the few people who has been genuinely kind to me and my brother. Actually, Leo and I never received much kindness growing up, so our way of giving back might be a bit clumsy. When I was little, I used to hear my parents say they should have drowned me and Leo in the toilet back then. At that time, I was just scared when I heard that. But lately, I've been feeling that children who even their parents don't want to live, maybe they really shouldn't exist in this world. So that's why after struggling in the mud for 20 years, I'm still covered in filth. The person I wanted to protect was torn to shreds, and the person I chased after to save was a phantom. In the end, it was just a few extra years snatched from Melissa." Seeing this, Serena suddenly grabbed my hand. The force of her grip slowly turned my wrist red. "Sister, don't think like that. Meeting you and Leo was the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. None of us should not exist, especially you two." I was stunned. I looked at her determined eyes and smiled slightly, but I felt like she was telling a white lie. Serena's tightly clenched hand was still emaciated. Her clothes hung loosely on her frame. If she had not met us, she would have had a much brighter life. The end of summer, the chirping of cicadas faded. I reached up and straightened the stray hairs on her forehead. "Serena, after this summer is over, start a new life. Forget about me and Leo." After meeting Serena, I went to find Chloe. She was listlessly stirring the ice in her cup. It was probably because of her father's disappearance. Last night, while going through Mr. Sutton's phone, I had seen a call from Chloe. I had declined it. Her mother had died early, and she had been raised by Mr. Sutton alone. Their bond must have been deeper than that of an ordinary father and daughter. I didn't say much to Chloe. After all, no matter how reasonable the reason, she and I were enemies. Her plagiarism of Leo's work was an undeniable fact. So I just handed her an old phone and the key to Mr. Sutton's study. I had destroyed the rest of the keys. The phone contained the recording of her father, Mr. Sutton, confessing to assaulting Leo after getting drunk at the hotel, as well as the video of the assault from his phone and the location of the backup. There were also photos of the diary entries from Leo's diary from the time when he and Chloe were still on relatively good terms. She was a little confused as to why I was giving her this phone. I lowered my eyes and smiled. The password is Leo's birthday. You remember, right? Chloe nodded. 030209. It seemed that what she had said back then had some truth to it. After all, she still remembered Leo's birthday. Chloe, there were only 4 things among Leo's belongings. One of them was the album by the band Words and Wine that you gave him. When you see the contents of the phone, you'll know the whole truth. Before he died, he still considered you a very good friend. Under my deliberate suggestion, a crazed hope reappeared in her eyes. She took out her phone and was about to look through it. I didn't stop her, nor did I stay. I planned to find a place to sleep. After I woke up, I would go turn myself in. I slept exceptionally soundly. When I woke up, I didn't know how much time had passed. I turned on my phone. The bright light made me squint. After my eyes adjusted, I saw a recent headline notification. Gruesome dismemberment body case discovered in Portland's North Industrial Zone. The methods were extremely brutal. Seeing this, I felt no unease as the perpetrator. I just calmly browsed the content. The report confirmed the victim's identity, Mr. Sutton, chairman of Sutton Enterprises and a director at the university. The murderer was still at large. In the top comments, my friend at the police station said he was cut into 67 pieces. One part was just, "This is one of the most heinous cases in Portland in recent years. What kind of grudge must this be?" I looked down, scrolling through the screen, still feeling no emotion. A moment later, I put down my phone, ready to head to the police station. Just then, a new notification appeared on my screen. Dismemberment case murderer has surrendered. My finger paused. I frowned. What was going on? I clicked on the content and found that although the report said the murderer had surrendered, it did not mention a name. But the only person who knew about this was Ethan. I could only think of him. Could he have... A chill ran down my spine. The phone in my hand rang at that moment. I looked down. It was my roommate, Nancy. "Aurora, where are you?" "Ethan asked me to give you something. Can you come get it now?" I calmed my thoughts, was silent for a moment, and then replied softly, "Okay."
The things Ethan left for me were a bank card and a note. "Aurora, you should go abroad for 2 years. I'll take the blame for this. After all, my family's connections can minimize the punishment. My dad may not love me, but he's terrified of me embarrassing him. He'll handle it, don't worry. And all of this, consider it me paying back my debt to you. Don't go turn yourself in. All the best." I couldn't describe how I felt. The sound of cicadas seemed to be both near and far. It wasn't until the edges of the note crumpled in my hand that I finally came back to my senses. I took the bank card, put it in my pocket, composed myself, and thanked Nancy. Outside the school gate, I hailed a taxi. The driver asked me where I was going. "To the North Industrial Zone Police..." "Where?" "Never mind. To the cemetery." That night, I stayed at Leo's grave for the whole night. The next day, I left the country. During my years abroad, the main theme of my life was updating Leo's art account. Fortunately, I had taken on art commissions before and had some skill, though not comparable to his talent. But after 5 years, I had gained a lot of followers. And this spring, I decided to return to Portland. After arriving in Portland, Serena came to pick me up at the airport with a bouquet of tulips. She was now a top agent at an entertainment company. When we sat down face to face, her eyes instantly filled with tears. "Sister, I never thought I'd see you again. Thank you. Thank you for everything you did." Her voice was choked with sobs. After half a minute, she continued, saying that after Mr. Sutton's death that year, her depression, as if the root cause had been removed, completely disappeared. She was finally no longer living in the past in regret, growing numb day by day. Hearing this, I smiled in satisfaction, just as I had in the past, and patted her on the shoulder. It was good. She had finally put on some weight. Just then, as if remembering something, Serena lowered her head and took a card from her bag, handing it to me. "Sister, there's 1.42 million here. It's my salary from the past few years, plus the 800,000 you gave me. I've saved it all. Sister, don't refuse. You must take it." I didn't take it. Seeing this, Serena stubbornly placed it by my hand. She then continued to tell me about what had happened over the years. She said that after Ethan surrendered, he received a letter of forgiveness from the victim's family, that is, from Chloe. Then Ethan's family hired the top lawyers and presented a diagnosis of bipolar disorder from a hospital from years ago. Under these multiple conditions, Ethan was sentenced to 10 years. And Chloe, for some unknown reason, had a mental breakdown shortly after her father's death 5 years ago. She now lives in a mental hospital, but every late spring she goes to the cemetery to pay her respects. Hearing this, I nodded slightly. When these people were mentioned, they felt both strange and familiar, as if they were people I had known in a past life. I subconsciously wanted to ignore it. At the end of our conversation, I asked Serena about her love life. "So in these 5 years, have you dated anyone?" Her eyes darkened. She crossed her hands and rubbed them. "No." "Why not?" "Because the person I met when I was young was too amazing." Late at night, the evening wind blew. I opened the account and posted a winter landscape painting that Leo had left behind. Below the painting was a line of text. The content was, "I only wish that in your next life, you can live a smooth and happy life."